Halls came and got us real interested in our black history and our history of our community. And who found us? Melbourne. 3 former slaves came here in the early 1860s when they was freed from slavery. They came and founded, well, the first one was a cellular. It was known as Crane Creek. And they were never given adequate credit or adequate recognition. Now all of a sudden everybody's trying to find out now what happened. I heard a lady say something which really made sense. She was in one of our meetings. She says the best kept secret in Florida County, the fact that 3 men, former slaves, freedmen, founded Melbourne and nobody was talking about it. Now it's talk everywhere. And we hope this talk here can generate the real truth and the real story and you get out and get the recognition needed.
History is very important in life, and history is being ripped away from our youth. Real stories that was turned around to be a lie is being ripped away so that most people don't hear the truth. In this vlog, I am going to be sharing with you guys about 3 black men who founded Crane Creek, Florida, what became Melbourne, Florida. Now, in the original story that they threw around, back in 1878, a white man by the name of Cornwith, John Hector, founded Melbourne, Florida, and he was the first postmaster to deliver mail on the riverbanks of Melbourne, Florida, which that's a lie. He was not the first. And I am going to show you guys who was the first. I'm going to show you who founded Melbourne, Florida, and I'm going to give you some history about what happened back in the 1800s up until today.
My name is Reverend Lorenzo Laws. I am the senior pastor of Greater Allen Chapel AME Church, the first house of worship in the city of Melbourne, Florida. Founded in 1864 by 3 families, Balin Allen, Wright brothers, and Dr. Robert Lipscomb. 2 of those individuals became the founders of Crane Creek along with Peter Wright, which became Melbourne, Florida, and later on. We are now so excited because even as we stand here, we're getting ready on tomorrow to celebrate 137 years of here at Greater Allen Chapel AME Church, the first house of worship in the city of Melbourne. We're just so excited, and especially with the founders of Crane Creek that later became Melbourne, Florida, because again, 2 of those individuals, Balin Allen, Wright brother, and Peter Wright, founded Crane Creek, which later became Melbourne, Florida. So we are standing on holy ground, and especially with the founders of Melbourne, Florida. So we are so excited that you have come by today just so that we can just share some of the information, some of the historic information, which is for the entire city of Melbourne, Florida, and even the state of Florida, because this is history, the story that must be told. Even as we look at Lipscomb Street, it was named after Dr. Robert Lipscomb, who was one of those founders of Greater Allen Chapel, the first house of prayer. So as we continue on, I thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedule that we can just share a little bit of this historic occasion and this historic moment in this historic town.
Y'all see it, guys. The oldest house in Melbourne, Florida. Yep.
I'm Charles Jackson. I was born and raised here, right behind the house here in the building next door. Well, it's not the building next door, but on the property next door. The building been long since torn out. I was born in April 10th, 1936. In this vicinity here, I've been in it all my life, within this 2 or 3 blocks of this area. I live right down the street, about 2 blocks west of here on W.H. Jackson Street, a street that was named after my grandfather who came here around 1893 or 94 and stayed here the rest of his life till he was past his 103 years old. In my boyhood, I worked right at the store there on the corner. It was more or less raised right there on the corner. I graduated here from Melbourne Vocational High School, an all-black high school, about 2 blocks away, and then I went away from there, went to the Army for 3 years, and then from there I came out and I went to technical school, learned to be a master electrician, and I came out and I became a electrical contractor, roofing contractor, and a building contractor. I was able to build the annex over there at Allen Chapel across the street over there.
We will now have the welcome and occasion by Sister Tammy Tucker.
As we celebrate our 137th church anniversary of the founding of Greater Allen Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church, I am compelled to remind you that our church anniversary is truly an historical moment. It is not only historic to us, the members, but the community as well. When I look back at the significant history of this church, one of its greatest contributions has been the role it has played in our community. Greater Allen Chapel has been a vital source of support and assistance to many persons and organizations. Greater Allen Chapel has served as the spiritual and religious institution for individuals and families who have considered this their church home for 137 years. As I reflect upon our church enduring history, I am humble, prideful, and thankful for our founding pioneers who manifested their vision into a reality. They worked tirelessly, diligently, and relentlessly to ensure that the generations to come will not only know but see the fruition of their labor. So this morning, we not only celebrate 37 years of the founding of this church, but we also celebrate our founders for giving us a foundation that we are proud and thankful for. In closing, I will leave you to ponder this African proverb that states, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Thank you, Allen Chapel pioneers, for not going fast, but for completing the mission together, so that the generations that was and the generations to come will know of your enduring works to build our solid foundation, our church.
I came and became an active member in the church, an active officer in the church, where I was elected the vice president of the church, but I'm still the vice president. In the early 90s, we were to build an annex over there, $350,000 project back then, with no money down and no monthly payments. So membership built it on Saturdays in the afternoon. The members came and worked. We had electrician, I'm an electrician, we had Tucker, plumber, we had block layers, painters, and all we need to build the building, tile setters and contractors and whatever. What we did was we would raise money and go a certain phase and raise some more money and go another certain phase till we got that building completed. And then when the Pastor laws came and got us real interested in our black history and our history of our community and who found this Melbourne. 3 former slaves came here in the early 1860s. From that, they was freed from slavery. They came in, founded. Well, the first ones to sell here. They were known as Crane Creek, and they were never given the adequate credit or adequate recognition. And now all of a sudden, everybody's trying to find out now what happened. I heard a lady say something which really made sense. She was in one of our meetings. She says the best kept secret in Florida County, the fact that 3 men, former slaves, freedmen, founded Melbourne, and nobody was talking about it. Now it's talked everywhere. And we hope this talk here can generate the real truth and the real story, and you get out and get the recognition needed. That's why we're trying to get the monument over on River Drive, right down the end of Jackson Street, Jackson, US 1, to recognize them for what they did here, how they came fearlessly before this place, which was nothing but a jungle then and nothing but just overgrown place. And they settled here on Crane Creek. And they stayed here and died. Two of them died. The other one, Peter Wright, he died in Cocoa. He's buried in Cocoa. But the other two gentlemen who came there buried right here, right down the street, baby, 3 blocks down on the Lion Street Cemetery. And we are still making progress. The building I'm sitting here now, I think in a couple of months we hope to have this ready. This is a museum. It's going to become a museum. And this is our first church here, the first church of house of worship in Melbourne. So we hope to get this ready and get it where people can tour it and see what's just how things were 150 years or so ago. That's about the crux of it, unless you have some particular question you want to ask me, I'd be more than glad to answer.
You remember in the beginning when I was telling you about Conwith John Hector and that he wasn't the founder or the first postmaster? I found this out in one of my vlogs, and if you go back to it, it's called The Green Gables. She told me exactly who was the first postmasters and who was the founders. This what got me interested in this story.
Mrs. Wells, but they also learned about some of the other founding families. They learned about the 3 freemen who were the actual founders of Melbourne. As a matter of fact, Green Gables has worked with the crew that has moved, and one of our members, Jennifer East, has documented the founders' cabin, which is down on Lipscomb Street. And that's being turned into a museum as well. And it's kind of like associated with us. We're kind of brother and sister. And that in the back is a little storage area. But this bathroom had a full-size tub, and the windows look out over the river. So Mr. Wells could sit in his tub and see, because the river was the highway at the time. There was no US 1. The traffic was on the river. So the dentist came by river, the mail came by river. Wow. So